Thank you all. Good afternoon to you all, and thank you for having me. So yeah, I'm Malik, and I'm leading the operation for Vice here in Belgium. And I'm here to talk to you about what we do as a publisher in 2017. What's our strategy? How do we approach content in these, let's say, challenging times? So first of all, just a small word of introduction about who we are and what we do, because I'm not sure whether everyone here around knows us very well. Basically, as you mentioned it, we started as a magazine that was distributed in Canada 20 years ago, but we grew really fast to a strong digital platform. And a digital platform that speaks to the passion of our audience via different channels, not only Vice.com, but you have Noisy that speak over music, Munchies that speak over food, Motherboard for technology, etc., etc. These platforms are reaching above 100 million unique visitors on our all channels every month. We're also managing a digital partner of website where we are reaching about 300 million uniques per month. And yeah, just to say that we are a media company that's opened an office here in Belgium by the beginning of this year, but we are definitely no rookies. And we are acting in this field for many years now and are really seen now as the #1 media brand for young adults worldwide. When we launched our digital platform, we also had a strong focus on video, which led us to this crazy challenge of launching a TV channel for people aged 18-25 in 2016, Viceland. I will come back later on that one and why we make this choice. And lastly, what we have is we have also an intern creative and production services to help brands, well, basically tell stories that speak to this generation. One thing did not change throughout our whole development. It's just that the fact that we are experts in telling stories, experts in telling unique stories that will speak to this generation and reach out to this generation. But if our strategy did not change, the world around us changed a lot. There has never been more content available right now than at this day. Studies that we led show that people are consuming 11 hours of content daily. Sounds huge, but just think about how many times, just like you saw on the slide previously, how often throughout the day are you watching TV while playing with your laptop, while watching your mobile, etc., etc. So you really, if you sum up all these overlap, you are going to come very quickly to these 11 hours of content daily. With the following consequences for us as a publisher. What does it mean? It means that we are all competing for grabbing the attention of our audience. And when we talk about all competing, Vice is competing with other publishers. Vice is competing with brands that get more and more into this branded content and content behavior. Vice is competing with my mom, who's posting pictures, videos on Facebook, and we're all there trying to grab their attention, knowing that the size, let's say the sample that you have to make an impact is smaller and smaller. It's like playing this old Atari game of Pong. The oldest one here in the room will know about it. The younger one probably never heard about it. Anyway, but basically the trick here is just the ball went faster and faster, and you just try to catch it and send it back. And it's really what publishers are facing right now. Just trying to catch up with the speed of news, with the speed of how fast can you deliver news, how fast can you deliver content, and it's getting harder and harder. So how do we stand out? How do we make sure that we are still telling the stories that we want to tell? How do we make sure that these stories have an impact among our audience? How do we make sure that we are still focusing on what we do best? Yeah, basically by focusing on what we do best. Two things: telling stories that matter and distributing these stories to make sure that we are reaching the people and we make sure that these stories have an impact. First, our stories and how do we tell stories at Vice. The thing is, as I said, we are a medium for young adults, for millennials. I'm 34, So maybe it's the last year that you will see my name stick to Vice, because yeah, I'm getting quite old. But our DNA is to create content for millennials by millennials. We know our audience very well because we are this audience. We are these young peoples, we are these young adults that try, and we basically, the content that we create is made for this specific audience. And we also understand the changes that this audience went through over the last 10, 15 years. First of all, the access to information. This is something that changed drastically the perception and the way people are consuming media nowadays. My father used to rely on the 8 o'clock news to be informed and to the morning gazette. People who are now 15, 16 don't need that anymore. They have the instant access to information, which seems like pushing an open door. But just think about how does it change their relationship with the pillars of our society, with media, with institutions. This relationship has been really much challenged over the last few years. Even more when you take into consideration the fact that this generation went through lots of economical struggles and economical changes. I always take this personal example, but when I started working in advertising, my company had to lay off 20% of the workforce. So this is something that has an impact on you. This is something that really impacts, again, the way you build your relationship with brands, with pillars, with society. This generation went through a period where the institution lied to us, where the people in suits lied to us, and it really challenged the way they perceive the world. So how do we tackle this? By our stories. And how do we make sure that we create this bond with our audience? First of all, by telling stories that feel very much personal. We really want to make sure that we will tell stories that will speak about people you can relate to. Like this example on the screen, we met this guy who is a Major League Baseball pitcher. He's earning $2 million a year. But instead of living the champagne and campaign life that these kind of guys can have, he decided to live a very simple life, to live in the van that you see on the picture over there. Why? Because he likes camping and he likes surfing. And for us, telling these kind of stories, really, it gives you immediately another perception about what sport is, what these guys are. You come out of the usual cliches about these sportsmen, and it's also something that anyone can relate to. Camping, maybe, not everyone loves camping, but you can understand what camping is. So this is really, it creates immediately another relationship with our content. It feels much more personal. And what we do also is that we also always try to pick up original angles. This is a video that we created following the attack at Charlie Hebdo a couple of years ago.
Nach meiner Erinnerung reiten 3 Cowboys durch die Wüste. Der erste stellt dem zweiten eine Frage. Ja, was ist 1 mal 1? Der zweite antwortet 1. Und der erste nimmt seine Waffe und knallt ihn ab. Der dritte ist überrascht und fragt dem ersten, ja, warum hast du denn ihn eigentlich abgeknallt? Er sagt, er wusste zu viel.
So just put yourself in this context. 2 years ago, attacks at Charlie Hebdo, we have all this debate about religion and humor and what can we say and what can't we say and how far can we go. What we did, instead of having this philosophical debate and brought the so-called experts to talk about it, we just put in a room a rabbi, an imam, and a priest, and let them tell jokes and just engage about humor in a very straightforward, in a very different way. So, this is what lives within our content. We try to tell stories that are personal, that are always having a different angle, but also, not less important, we pay as much attention to the way we distribute our content, because we can have the best content, the best stories ever. If you don't make sure that your distribution strategy is solid, then you're screwed, basically. So what we do is that we focus on different things. First of all, we will take into account the mindset the mindset and the moment where we push a specific content. We will make sure that just think about your own experience. You won't consume the same type of stories, the same type of content, whether you are commuting in the morning, where you have a lunch break of 5, 10, 30 minutes if you're lucky enough, or whether you're sitting on your couch, just relax after a day of work. What we do is we take these moments, we take this mindset into account, we translate our stories accordingly to the right platform, to the right format, to make sure that we will have an impact, and make sure that our stories are read throughout the day. Also, this is also something that my peer from NewsMonkey just mentioned. 80% of our content, 80% of our traffic comes through Facebook. So that's a reality, and we need to take into account at the second point the right platform to push this content. And we need to be able to understand what are the last changes in the algorithm of Facebook, what are the last changes for video views on Facebook, etc., to make sure that we adapt consistently and make sure that our content is seen. And also, the last point, I'm sitting every day with client advertisers, fellow publisher who say, we must have a mobile strategy, a mobile-first strategy. It's not mobile-friendly strategy, it's mobile only. When you look at these numbers, 70% of our content is consumed on mobile. It's up to 95% throughout the weekend. So you need to also create stories, create content that is mobile adapted, let's say. And okay. I see that my slide jumped a little bit. It was let's say my final conclusion, but now it fell a bit awkwardly. Anyway, what this slide was meant to say, it's really a sum up of our whole strategy. There you see a small point before you had the word story. So you have the word platform and you have the word content over there. What we do, basically, we don't talk about content. Our thinking does not start with content. Our thinking starts with stories. We want to tell great stories. We want to tell stories that will have impact on our audience. We want to tell stories that you've never seen before. And then afterwards, we will think about only in second stage, the right platform, and then in third stage, the content. The content is just the result of great stories told on the right platform. And this is really how we think, and what led us basically to launch, as mentioned earlier, a TV channel for millennials in 2016. We saw TV as the last missing screen, the last opportunity, the last, missing link in the whole Vice galaxy to tell stories like we wanted to tell these specific stories. And when you think about, and I will just end up on that one, when you think about how do we work with brands, we apply the same way of working. We also always will start with telling great stories, telling stories that you've never seen before, and then only figuring out the right platform and the right content. We have all these channel points, we have all these ways to reaching out to our audience, and we just want to make sure that we push the right content on the right platform. And I will just maybe end up with the mantra of our CEO, and this is something, it's the only mission that you have when working at Vice. Just try not to be shitty. So this is what we try to do every day, and quite successfully so far. So we see you later for questions, but thank you.